Morning. My name is Lawson Walker, and I'm your ministry liaison for the ministries of the church. Our task is to help you do more ministry. Ministry didn't start at Reid Temple a few years ago. It's been going on for a while, since Christ. Oh, you can't hear me without the microphone? Okay. Well, you probably want to put this out anyway. You edit this part, but this is just for you. Since Christ gave the Great Commission to go ye, people have been doing ministry all over the world. And it has been the task of Reid Temple. And that's how we got here where we're at now, by doing ministry. Ministry is very important, so we encourage people to do ministry. And tools are available. Christ has provided for us greatness. And through the greatness that he has given us tools and opportunities, which we've been talking about all morning. And so we want to continue to talk about it and be creative about how we do ministry, and we want to help you in every way that we can. And the first slide talks about some of the basic ways in which we start out doing ministry. And that's through your telephone. You communicate, or you can talk to people on Sundays or Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Now, there was a time we only seen each other once a month or every 2 weeks. Now you can communicate with people because everyone has a telephone almost. They're not expensive like they used to be. And so you can talk to one another and your ministries at a time using the telephone. We have printed materials, which we went over extensively. We'll go over a little bit more of that. And we want to thank Sister Kenya for her diligence and working through this, and because many of the persons who have been up here work at night on their time off, and they still have families as well. They still need to get out and do something, maybe even go to a movie or a dinner. Is that right? Yes. So that's the extra work, and that's part of doing ministry as well, because you do the same things. So we use the printed materials. We have internet service for you. Many of you don't have sufficient internet at home. We can enhance that here at the church. You can come to the church, get on a computer, and go across the world seeking information that will help your people to be better persons in Christ, to be delivered from whatever it is that they're hurting from. And finally, we'll take a little questions if necessary. Each ministry has a telephone or a potential telephone available to them. It's a Reid Temple number. Everyone know what the number is at Reid Temple? No? Okay, anybody know what it is? 301-352-0320. That's the call to church here at Glendale. We're in the process of calling the church here at Glendale, which will connect you automatically to DC, as well as the north location, and as well as the south location, or the east Oh, we're not talking about that now. But we can do those kinds of things. When you call in, if you know your party's extension, you don't need to call the operator. You can just call in. It says, "Hi, this is Reid Temple. If you know your party's extension, please dial now." And you could dial 315, Director of Ministries, Reverend Clark. That's the case. Or you can call in because you've been creative enough to understand that I have a ministry and that people call my ministry every day, every month, and leave messages. And so I would like to go in and listen to the messages that they have sent. So I can call in and I can get my messages and return those calls. We have not been diligent in the last several months in taking, we have a computer system so we know how many calls come in for the missionaries and for any ministry. Many times the calls stay there 2 or 3 weeks, not acceptable. You should get your calls on a regular basis. If someone is taking time enough out of their day to call your ministry, then you ought to be able and want to call them back for the sake of Christ. So that's available for you as well. That's in the system. We'll talk about how to bring great glory to God throughout the system. Let's go one more. Okay, let's talk about local calling. This telephone system that we have is yours. You can call anywhere within the local areas, all the exchanges, as well as long distance. To do long distance calling, you need to call the office and get approval so that you might call out. We just don't want anybody using it, misusing it, but it's available to you. So you can just call in and say, "Look, I want to call California. I need to talk to some people out there for the next several weeks and see how their ministries are going and how they do X, Y, and Z. Can I have that capability?" And all you have to do is click on the computer. Someone has to, and then you can call California, you can call Colorado, you can call New Mexico, whatever the case might be. So that is available. For those who do it on a frequent basis, we give you that right. But if you only do it once, we only just give you that one-time process. Yes?
Quick question, just to confirm. So local calling does include the Virginia exchanges, correct? Like 703?
Yes.
The metropolitan area?
Yes. Now, sometimes the phones, what happens, like in Maryland, they extended the exchanges. Right. And they might not be processed in our system. We could add that to the system at any time. So I remember when 410 came out, it wasn't automatically added. But we just clicked it. We just put in there 410 and we were able to make the calls. Your mailboxes and receiving calls, I just talked about that. You have a mailbox. Make sure that your mailbox is conducive and to the people who would hear when they call in. It should say what ministry it is. You can do that on your phone. Right now, a lot of you don't have that. It's just 414 is the number. But it ought to say, for an example, "Hi, this is X ministry, And we're certainly glad to hear from you today. I will call you back. Please leave a message. And you do just that. You give people the courtesy to do that as well. And you have the capability of calling, forward calling. What we want to do here is project the image that when someone calls, right now, a lot of people are giving their cell phone numbers. That's okay if you want to do that. But to be official, you can call from this system, and it becomes Reid Temple calling. And so it's an official call from that ministry to a person. And that would come up on their phone system, and it says Reid Temple. So using this system, you could call out to anybody, and it says Reid Temple Church. And people are glad to see that instead of your phone. And if there's charges at a level, it doesn't go on your personal telephone. Reid Temple will take care of that. So the question was, do you have to be here to make that call? Guess what? Anywhere in the world. I go on vacation, I take a call all day long. My wife doesn't like that. But I take the call, and I'll call you back. Okay, yeah. If something happens to your phone where you don't, it's not working for you as well as it should, that's what I'm here for, to make sure that those kinds of things happen. Periodically, we have some maintenance systems. Systems get shut down, they come back up, they're not exactly right. Somebody's long distance is not working, for an example, or callback is not working because that's a process that's clicked on the computer itself to allow you to do those kinds of things. But basically, it will do it. If you're having a problem, send me an email or call me. I prefer an email because I respond relatively well in emails. I will get back to you as soon as possible. And other features that the phone has, you just have to be creative. This phone system does almost whatever you want it to do. So as much as you could be creative to use your phone system for ministry to make things better for you and all the members of Reid Temple and outside in the area as well. And lastly, we have conference calling. Ministries at different times always love to come together. I like to say it that way. They love to come together, and we like to sit around and talk. We don't have to do that anymore. We used to do that because it was conducive. We like one another, and we still do. For an example, I can remember the time that everyone from Reid Temple almost lived within about a 20-mile radius of the church. That was it. Loretta can remember a time when everyone lives about 5 miles in the radius of the church. Now it's no telling. We have people that drive all the way from, yeah. So I myself drive 50 miles to get to the church, and that's unfortunate. That was what God had put on my test list to see if I would be faithful. But we do those kinds of things. I just want to say that you don't have to always drive Reverend Clark crazy by everybody trying to have a meeting here at the church every month or every week. That's no longer available. You could be at the comfort of your home, sit in your own room, and have a conference call with members of your ministry. If it's too large, you could do an executive call, and the executive team can call other members and have meetings as well. But we could accommodate 50 calls, as long as we know that that's going to happen. Now, it's kind of hard to manage 50 people on a call-in, but certainly 10, 12, 20, no problem at all. If you want that to happen, you could just give us a call, and we would make sure that happens for you and your ministries. So conference calling is not a problem. Any questions? Printing. Sister Kenya went into printing most of the documents that we do at the church, and there are some others as well for our system. And they are in your computer word processing that you might do yourself. You might not want to copy 100 of something. Maybe you want to copy 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. You can come to the church and do it probably before a meeting or at any time at all. We have computers to do that. We have printers that will print for you. We want to limit that. If you need major printing, you just need to tell us, and we could have those printing done for you. Many people have class or a meeting, and they need 50 copies of something. As long as we know, you can send us the information, and we could print it and have it ready for you when you come for your meeting, as long as you start the process early and plan. That's just a regular card. It was the accent something.
So if it's more than 50 copies, what do you need to do? If it's more than 50 copies, you said up to 50 copies, it's not a problem. What if it's more than that?
Oh, no problem at all. We'll print 10,000 if it's right. Yeah, that's what we do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have to fill out the form and turn it in?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
So, do we have access to a printer in the copier room, or just the copier, the fax copier machine? Like when I come in, I have to do vouchers, and I need to make copies. Sometimes I have to use the copier machine, I use the fax machine right here in your area, but sometimes it's not working. So, I don't have access to anything else to print from.
Right. No one has access to the copiers in Go Tell It. And there is a reason why, because we just can't have 80 people running in there copying. We used to do that, but it was down more than it was up. So when we came in to print something for the church at large, we had to wait till another day to get maintenance and all that. And it's still hard to do. Those copiers in the printing rooms frequently go down. But if they're down, just let me know, or let someone know you want to print. There's more than one printer in there. You could move to another printer, and usually you can get something printed.
Well, she's looking for copy, so she's copying like a voucher.
Right.
She has to keep a copy for herself or something.
Right. You can.
Normally it's just that one, like, beige color one.
No, it's 3 printers in there. People don't look at it that way, but because they don't all look alike. But there's 3 distinct printers in there, and you can use the one in the middle, the one on the left, or the one on the opposite side. You can go to the receptionist's desk. They have one there as well, and they're all copies for ministries. We just don't want you to misuse them, but they're copies, yeah.
So do we scan and send you a flyer, for instance, and say we buy limited copies for a week from Sunday? Or does that cost more? And where, King Jefferson,
Yes. You could send those. We prefer to, if it's going to be something major, let me put it this way. If it's going to be something major, we prefer you take the 14 days process as for planning. There are many times people want something and they need it in a hurry. You can still send us that email and we'll look at, see if we can get that done. Generally, we can do that for you. We try not to turn anyone down for any reason, but there are many times that we just can't. People get sick, something happens, machine breaks down, what we were talking about earlier. You never know what's going to happen, so it's good to really plan ahead. But most things we can and will do for you. Just have to let us know, and not let us know that same night, I need 100 of this particular voucher, because there's other people who have things in the queue as the printing is being reserved for, so it's hard to do it that way. So if you were there last week, we were trying to do the anniversary. We had all three machines. We have 3 machines running 24 hours for 3 days in order to get that product ready for Sunday. It took us 3 days to do that. And so there was no time unless we had made room for people who had planned already, and then we could shut a machine down, say, for 3 hours just to do that particular product. And that's how we do it.
I just
Yes.
want to help you on that comment. So when you plan in advance, put in your request form for whatever particular event activity. If you're having a meeting and requesting space, then when you request that space, also put on there if you expect to have an agenda that needs to be copied or flyers that need to be copied. Remember, plan in advance. Don't wait to that day to come in and say, oh, I have an agenda, and then you have to run around the church to find somebody to copy it for you. Plan in advance. If you know that you're gonna have agenda that you wanna distribute, then put it in your request form when you go, so that way that prepares them, because just like he says, you'll have other things in the queue that are coming from the printing side of the ministry. If they got a big annual event coming up or another big activity, they already planned out their schedule to print. So to stop a whole process to print out 50 copies because you need it at the last minute, that doesn't help really anybody, because now everybody's kind of trying to rush and try to get it done. So plan in advance. When you request your meeting space, request that I may need 50 copies of an agenda printed as well. And that way that prepares them on their side so that they can welcome you and support you properly.
And you can plan for, you have control to plan for your agenda. You don't have control to plan for technical errors or copier machines being down, because there have been times where all the copiers go down for service, and we can't plan when that's gonna happen based on the printing, and then we have to call it in. And we get a lot of persons that come up and they go, oh, and it's literally at the hour of their meeting, and they go, oh, we need 50 copies of this, or we need 10 copies, and sometimes you think because it's a low amount of copies that it should be able to be done, but it doesn't always work that way, and then you guys are looking at us like we are inefficient because our machines are down, but we don't always have control. As you all very well know, with the computers you may have at work or at home, you don't have control over when it's gonna crash, or if it's gonna break down, or what it's gonna need, if it needs an extra part outside of toner. So just keep those things in mind when you're doing it. So you should already have an email, and it's simple. You can send an email in to Sister Dion, and even if Brother Walker's not available, if it's something small, he has other persons within the office that he can reach out to get it done. And we'll put it in your mailbox, and it'll be there for you when you get here for your meeting. So just keep those things in mind.
But we from the north,
I'm sorry.
North is different than you guys here.
Can't speak to,
North
does that come through us, the North Campus?
Well, basically, North does their own small amount of printing. I do all their major printing. We do get that. When Reverend Russ calls, or Reverend Fonby calls, or one of the ministry leaders of there, when they call in or send something to us, myself and Kenya will get together and complete their projects. So they're quite good at doing what needs to be done. Kenya.
Sophia answered the question. I think you said, I may have missed it, if there's a limit of 50, if you have anything over 50, that's when we ask.
Right. Well, we want to change that now. We'll probably change that and make it a little lower, because what happens is we're getting a lot more people trying to print, and 50 is quite a bit. Right. Is it 50 pages or 50 copies of 50? And we've had that recently. I walked in and someone was trying to print. They had about 50 pages they were trying to print. They needed 30 documents. That's still, that's terrific. And what it does, it wears out all the ink. And so when when you come in to print your one copy, there's no ink. Right. And so that's how that happens. So we have to be considerate as well. If we're going to do major stuff, we need to plan ahead. Sure. Or if you're going to do something like that, let someone know that you have something that you need to get done, or I've done something, so it can be looked at, because that ink just goes away. And it's expensive as well. Right.
And for North, again, still the rule applies, put it on the request form. I mean, because as long as you notify folks in advance, that will just help your case all the way through. But North, there's no different. When you request something at North, put it all in up front.
Jennifer,
Yes.
I have to say something, delete this. At North, I put something, put in a request, December 15th, 2015, for an event that I was gonna do October of this year. It went through, and I didn't hear anything until a month before. And I kept checking every month, kept talking to people, and it looked like I was the one who had
late.
not planned
Right.
it. But it was a year in advance, and I had everything.
Was it a advertisement for an event, or was it support all the way around?
All the way around.
Wow.
So I put together a committee, we did our own logo. Out of my own pocket, I paid for for the t-shirts, for the mugs, everything. And, we did our own printing, because they would never get back to us and give us approval.
And I don't even know who it is. We don't even know, is there a main
Yeah.
person? We don't even
Let me
know.
ask you, how about your commissioner? Did you have a commissioner?
I went through, first it was Reverend McKinley that we went through, then it was Reverend Russ. Reverend Russ had to find, we have a first aid ministry,
Okay.
and we were putting together Living a Pink Life, like we had done the year before, which is talking about breast cancer. And so we were trying to, and it was a whole big mishmash about, oh, well, we don't have a ministry to put you under. So they started a, cancer support ministry. And even now, still, I'm trying to plan for next year, and, oh, we don't have a ministry to put you under. So I'm planning, but I don't know, I have everything planned. And I'll go ahead and put it in a request form again and see what happens. But I'm just, giving you all a heads up.
Right.
This is how
So-
it is at North.
Yeah.
Question for you, so if someone needs something advertised, say at North, do they still come through you?
No, it should go through actually Reverend Russ at this particular point. Yeah, it should be Reverend Russ.
Okay.
That ultimately ensures that it gets into the appropriate hands.
But we're still filling out the forms. We still gotta do the request and get the forms completed that we've gotten approval. But you're saying it needs to go through Reverend Ross.
Yes, now you're submitting your forms to whom?
I'll submit it to Reverend Russ, and then if I need video and stuff, I'll put it on a email. And I say Reverend Russ, and then I'll CC Brother Matt, and I'll CC whoever, a whole
whole bunch of people. So somebody is gonna get it.
Do me a favor, can you send me an email just describing, the concerns, and then I'll reach out for Reverend Russ and articulate, exchange, information. And then my email is Rev Clark. Rev Clark at reidtemple.org. Okay? So,
He has a lot of things on his plate.
Who?
Reverend Ross.
Well, I was getting to say, so that's like a single point of failure in the process,
Yeah.
and I don't know as a church,
yeah,
but
we're working as a church,
Right.
in a combined effort, so please do that.
because piggybacking off of that, so I get a lot of complaints when I'm working during services that, especially from the Welcome Ministry, because they don't have North's information. So someone asked here about the North announcements, like what happens when it gets to North. So yes, I never see what actually gets displayed at North. I rely on Adrika to basically manage that whole process, but I don't ever see what's going on. The Welcome Ministry here, obviously, they get questions regarding North activities. They can't answer them because they don't receive the announcements from North either. So I don't know if it's somewhere where we can kind of centralize the request process so that you're always in tune of what's going on church proper, and then, then you make sure, there's a follow-up. I don't know how they schedule their things there, but just using Reverend Russ with the amount of responsibility that he has, that is a single point of failure, and then we don't want someone like you to experience, you're doing what's the right thing.
2 years in a row.
Right, planning in advance.
I lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
I paid for everything myself.
And that's shouldn't
We'll
happen.
get that in the email, and, we'll follow up on it.
Why don't you as well, CC myself, as L Walker at reidtemple.org. And what we'll do is, we'll be backing Reverend Clark, in a process, because we deal in processes as well. The Board of Stewards deals in processes. We try to be problem solvers. That's the other job.
And perhaps this workshop needs to be church-wide, truly.
Right.
Church-wide,
That's the thing,
to encompass
because
all locations.
Right, that's why we took the class, because we're all having the same issue.
Okay. Yeah, it's, yeah.
Pieces of the puzzle.
Right.
Well, how did you find out about the class?
Well, that was another thing,
Someone
our missionary,
told
our missionary president told us about it, but that was the only way we found out about it. We did not see anything.
It did not go out church-wide.
No, it did
Yeah,
not.
right.
Someone just
That-
had
that's something.
They
Well, I
don't
know
put,
they know.
well, yeah, if it says
Okay.
Glendale location, 9
Yes.
times 10, they won't put that announcement out. Like I said, they'll put their North specific location, even though what we offer here is for everybody to participate.
And it's helpful, it's very
Right.
helpful.
Quite honestly, it's been in the, calendar for the official board for the last probably 9 months. So, it's
Because
been
we
out
need
there.
to know what the processes are, because I would do something and then Reverend Russ says, you really need to do, and I'm like, no.
Right, so
See,
that's why we're here,
see,
because we
see
didn't
this
know.
person, and I didn't know, I'm just talking to him.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we'll follow up, definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
Let me tell you about more ministry support, at least at Glendale. But we want to expand all these applications that we have for our North Campus as well. North Campus is a smaller size and their daily operations, which doesn't help as much because we know that it takes great expansive and work to complete everything that's going on here as well. So perhaps we'll find a way how to get all of that done at all the locations. But what is available to us through the ministry support is our computer system as well. Each ministry we have provided at one time or another, each ministry would have a computer login that's theirs. And they could save ministry information on that. We have a general computer login, which is called ministry, but that's just if you come in, you lost yours, you didn't have yours, you go on there, you can go on the internet, but you can't read any emails on that one. You can't save anything to official documents. So if you're a ministry, you should have a spreadsheet of some kind that's saying how much did I use in ministry funding this year. If it's not there, maybe I have it at my house. But it should be there, or maybe you might carry a thumb drive. You might carry a thumb drive around. All right. So many of us carry those thumb drives. I have a couple in my one of these pants. I guess I took it out, changed it. In my office, all around, and I use that going from one computer to the other where I have pertinent information that I might need, not all the time on all of them, because you end up with a lot of thumb drives. But for ministry, I have one thumb drive for all the ministries, and I have all the information on it that I need. Yes? Yes. Okay, and that's why I'm telling you about this now, because if you have a ministry address on the computer, you could store it on the computer just for you. So, and let me give you a good example. The missionaries have started using their address, and because they use it at Reid Temple, here, they could move it around if they wanted to. They could pull up their financial database at any time they come into the church. And so if someone, then they could print it out and take it home and do whatever they need to do. But it's available for them. And they're the only ones who can see it. So if you're the ushers, you can't see what the ministry of missionaries have on their database. So that's one computer. They can just sit down and open up theirs. And so everybody has that capability. We want to encourage people to do that more, because that way the capabilities are at the church itself. And so if something happened to you and you can't come in, your vice president might come in, or your secretary might come in and put in missionaries, and the database comes up and you can go on with your meeting or whatever the case might be. Other than that, you got to email one another, you got to call one another, you're not feeling well, and do all those kinds of things. So we need to be more perfect in what we do and how we do it as well. So you could do spreadsheets, many database programs. Right now, instead of creating programs, which you still can create a lot of them just for you, or you can go out to the web and find programs that will help you. However, in doing that here at Reid, you might not be able to download everything, because we don't want everything coming in on our right. And so because we don't want to have problems, we have enough problems as it is now without everybody having email. And so the emails, I'll get to that in a minute. Graphics and artwork, you can do that as well, and then turn around and say, here, Kenya, this is what I found. Look at this here. I found this. And you can do it all in one process. You can make presentations and information storage. You could do that, what we just talked about. So, we'll talk about email accounts. We would like everyone to have an email account, but it doesn't have to be at reidtemple.org. Now, if there's an official that you needed to use that all the time, and I haven't seen it yet, but maybe some people would like to have that, that's fine. We'll look at it and see what the possibilities are for your particular ministry to do that. But stewards at Reid Temple at Hotmail is okay. At whatever the other sites are at AOL is okay. At Gmail is okay. So you can make one. Now, you probably need to keep it updated and use it. But the ones for Reid Temple, you would have to get authorization to have a Reid Temple email. And that will be far and in between based on the primary need. And hopefully we don't want, we're at a maximum right now. We can't add too many more unless we buy another group of that because we're at a place that we would need to expand. But we still would want everyone to have an email for good total communications. And if they're free around the world, there's no reason why not to get one. And I just don't see the reason why you would not have one. So. Okay. Now, as you go back and review yourselves and your ministries and the way you do things, one of the questions you always have to ask yourself is, how do you bring glory to the Lord? And how can I do it better? What are your questions? Questions? My email, lwalker@reidtemple.org.
Say it again.
lwalker@reidtemple.org. Thank you very much. Oh, one more question.
This is regarding the protocol for printing materials. Just to get clarity, I've seen Reid Temple A&E, egg.m.e. I've also seen it A&E. I've been told at one time no dots, another time dots. What is the protocol, or as in, and also ink, or for everything printed, ink should be added at the end of Reid Temple A&E Church ink?
Okay, we just added that, 2 years ago? We just went to ink. And that's new, and that's why. It's new, and everyone hasn't gotten the word. We haven't said it at an official board yet that we are Reid Temple African Methodist Episcopal Church, Inc. We've always been incorporated. Since we've been a church, we've been incorporated, and that's to protect ourselves in the religious community as well. But we've now added the word Inc., incorporated. Right. So it is the proper, let me put it this way. Let me look at this in another light first. Inc. is okay in an official capacity outside of the church venue. But I'm going to get clarity on that and bring it to you. The church, African Methodist Episcopal Church, recognizes, they don't recognize the Inc. They recognize the AME Church. That's what they recognize. So are we going to look at what the church recognizes and which we are part of, or whether the Inc. part, which we are incorporated in the state of Maryland? And that's what I'm going to clarify with Pastor.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to get some help on that because, I mean, when you're talking, from a spiritual perspective, who cares about it?
Right.
We're not trying to present that perspective. We are the church. I mean, if I go biblical, that's us. We are the church.
Right.
It's not, quite honestly, it's not the building, where it goes scripture. It's us, that are here. So, we'll get clarification.
Yeah.
And it's probably something that we use more.
I'm sorry, Sophia. So for the abbreviations, are we doing A and B with no dots in between, or straight?
We don't need the dots. We don't need the dots. Yeah.
And one more thing, clarity on when to use, I think in everything that comes through our office, we have to add, three services, 8 services. That language, you might wanna let them know, especially if they're doing things on their own. The language that goes at the bottom of the locations for BC, York, all of that. So sometimes it's not room to add, I know we just have to use the logo on all the things. Is that something we wanna address or no?
Yes, we want to address that to make sure everything we should have a common theme like we do now. We know what colors that we use, we know what size fonts that we use, we know the backgrounds. Yeah, certainly, do we want to on everything? Now, here's the point, what Reverend Clark is talking about the same thing. On everything, do we have to say 10 locations and 25 services? No. I don't think we have to do that. We will need to be concise on a lot of stuff, but if it's going out church-wide, we need to use it.
But I think that's more or less so, like, you and me as ministry leads who are responsible for the dissemination of that information to the masses, that's something that you and I, that's what we would look at when we receive in all this stuff from the ministries. They don't necessarily have to do it. When they send it in to us, we make sure that it complies with the style sheet
Right.
for the church and everything else that we got for our particular discipline. Because just like I said, when I receive in announcements for the screens, it's great that you send me fancy fonts and all that good stuff, but when you see that on the screen, it's a standard font that we use throughout the whole announcement, because that's my job as the digital presentation to make sure it has everything it needs. If Pastor Washington's name on there, then we know Reverend Dr. Lee Washington, the senior pastor. We know that that's how it has to say. They may not necessarily need to know because we're responsible for once the final product comes.
Okay. Thank you so much.